fell, he woke up too late. He asked a question. Well, there are many other questions he asked. There's 5 chapters, Adhyay in Mahabharata before the Gita Adhyay. That he asked one question after another. What happened? Well, how did they do? Who was gathered? What were they doing? Etc. Etc. Among those were the negotiations among the chieftains and the rules of war. Everything was discussed. And Sanjay was narrating all of that. And after all that narration, finally Dhritarashtra asked this question: what did they do? Mine and those of Pandu, 105 of them. So that's when Sanjay started telling him about this part, the dialogue, the next 18 chapters, which we call Gita. Arjun's basically main thing in this chapter is Arjuna Vishad. When Arjun, at his own urging, took the chariot to the middle of the armies and looked at who was standing there. Not that he didn't know, he already knew who would be there, but seeing them was shocking. Seeing them and knowing the result. So that's how he went into a shock, and he went into a very deep grief, and said all those things about Narak Pap and Narakavas, Kulakshaya, etc. And finally said, I'm not going to fight. Brought his bow and arrow and sat down. So Sri Krishna kind of giving a verbal slap, woke him up. So he did wake up a little bit, and finally he complained one more time, how am I going to fight with Drona and Bhishma? And then he finally asked a question. That's the verse number, I think, 8, 9, 10, 7 on chapter 2. Karpanya dosho palasvabhava. I am overcome with self-pity. Krupana is pity. Krupana also means miser, by the way. But here it's pity, self-pity. I'm asking you because I'm totally confused about my duty. Dharma sammudha cheta. Therefore, tell me, yat shreya syat nishchitam. What is my shreya? And obviously, shreya, I keep reminding, shreya is not of Arjun the person, but the jiva that was Arjun. When he made the long argument about Papa and Punya and Narakavasa, Arjun, the body was not going to Narak. It was going to just drop there someday and then die. The body was going to die. He was going to move on. And where was he going to move on to? That was his question. His fear was Narakvas. So he was asking Sri Krishna, what is it? What's in it for me? What am I going to do to be on the right path, on the Shreya, upward movement path of yoga? Then the dialogue begins. It starts with, lots of different topics are discussed. To keep Arjun on track, he first tells him about Dehantara. I mean, all these people on the battlefield, and even those who are not on the battlefield, they're all going to die then or some other time, and they all are going to be reborn again. Dehantara prapti. So first thing he tells Arjun, just think about it. You are worried about people dying, but death is not something unique to this battlefield. People die and then they are reborn. And he's talking about Shreya, right? So the first thing he gave him was my favorite verse, 2:14. Remember that one, by the way. Very important one. One of the first instructions and most useful instructions in our life. There are many other very useful ones. Of course, I'm going to do all of those. But the most useful one is always remember, Sukha, Dukha. They all come and go. Tan, Pitishasva. Endure them. And enduring Dukha is natural. I mean, you have to. You suffer through it, you endure it, you tolerate it, whatever. But enduring sukha is the real advice. Because that's when you lose your track, you lose your path. Happiness essentially kind of make you forget what your main goal in life was or is. Okay, it's almost like a fog in your head. I'm happy. Okay, what else is there to do? That's when you have to endure that happiness and move on very consciously. And when I say consciously, that word in my head comes directly from Gita. He followed that up with Buddhi Yoga because you have to be conscious because the Buddhi has to be dedicated to that path of Shreya that you're asking me, is what they're saying. So when you endure, remember the reason is you have to keep moving forward. Not get lost in pain, not get lost in pleasure. So 214 is one of the most important verses to remember. And enduring pleasure is the most important thing to remember in Gita for our life. Enduring pain is, I mean, we do that, but that's the only thing we can do about pain. Endure it, tolerate it, somehow suffer through it. Enduring pleasure is totally not, it doesn't make any sense in normal, ordinary sense. It's not intuitively clear why someone should endure pleasure. But that's about Shreya Marga, Yoga Marga. That's where that advice comes into picture, not in normal life.
Lele ji,